And because Mr. Glover has joined us and will actually be taking the place of Langston Hughes tonight, and I say that because I had an opportunity to see him this afternoon in true form. And so if you're talking about a stamp coming to life and everything else, I think he depicts that better than anyone else. And I'd like to present him with his own copy of a reproduction of the stamp itself that has actually been presented to him by the Postal Service here tonight.
I think it was Robert Frost was one of the great poets, was being honored at in New York, and he was about 80-something years old. He said, "I wish my mother was here." I wish my mother and father were here. My parents both worked for the United States Postal Service. All of theirs. As I mentioned today at Central Middle School, that they came to the post office in 1948 and were representative of a wave of African Americans who had the first opportunity to work for the federal government as the federal government had desegregated its workforce. And they worked, tirelessly, raising 5 knuckleheads, including me. Except 4 knuckleheads. My sister is not a knucklehead, but 4, including myself. And they worked so hard with the National Alliance of Postal Employees. And those formative years in San Francisco, California, where they worked. And a number of people even around the country remember both my parents for the work that they did. And as as an extension of the leadership, and it all comes from there. You always say, where does this come from? It comes from my grandparents in rural Georgia who were in the forefront of leadership in their community. And it comes from my mother and father through the postal union, through the church. My mother was the local president of the National Council of Negro Women in San Francisco. And so I'm accepting this, and I've said all that about my parents because I stand here today in front of you because of 2 extraordinary, wonderful, gentle people, James and Carrie Glover. So this is to James and Carrie Glover.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming again to the stage to Lawrence at the University of Kansas, a man who is no stranger to Kansas or to the world, Danny Glover.
Thank you so much, Mary Emma. Why don't you give me the copy of that? I love the way she read my bio. Sometimes it's too long, and sometimes it's too long, and and longer than it should be. But she was right on time with that. Once again, thank you for your rousing welcome. I'm really humbled to be a part of this celebration. I mean, you don't understand how big Langston is. And in some ways, whether it's unconscious, for me as a kid growing up, that those poems some way resonate in my head as a child growing up. And we would hear them. You would hear The Negro Speaks of Rivers. You would hear dream deferred, or you would hear, I too, and all of a sudden they just sit in your mind in some sort of way. They're there. And when you get a chance as an adult, in your new role as an adult, to begin to read his work and to understand his life. And in some ways, for me as an artist, and sometimes people put /activist, someone who became an activist before becoming an artist, I've tried to look at his life and to see at what point some of the same feelings he may have had intersected at a certain point in my life and the feelings that I had, and trying to weigh the idea of what your responsibility is as an artist and all those. And sometimes it's something I don't have to weigh. I just go and do what I think is right here. I'll say what I think is what needs to be said, and and it'll come from my own sense of moral outrage. And Langston was able to do that in his poems in so many ways. I'm going to begin by reading one of his simple stories. Now, from 1942 to 1966, Langston wrote a syndicated column for the Chicago Defender. And people really become attached to his Just Be Simple, the character he created. During the war, of course, he used the character in some way to act as a barometer for what African Americans were feeling in their communities and their opinions about certain things. And so, but it became so popular that people began to know him more from his Just Be Simple stories or that column than from his poetry. But I'm going to begin doing that because I think when we talk about one of the subjects around, we talk about issues around that are happening in the world, liberal politics, or neoliberal models of development and all those kind of things. Langston wrote this very poignant, simple story about liberals need a mascot. Just what is a liberal? As simple. Well, as near as I can tell, a liberal is a nice man who acts decently toward people, talks democratically, and often is democratic in his personal life, but does not stand up very well in action when some real social issues like Jim Crow come up. Like my boss, says Simple, was always telling me he believes in equal rights and I am the most intelligent Negro he's ever saw and I deserve a better job. And I say, why don't you give it to me then? And he says, unfortunately, I don't have one for you. But every so often you hire a new white man that ain't had the experience of me and I have to tell them what to do, though they are over me. How come that? Well, he says, the time just isn't ripe. Is that what a liberal is? As simple? That's just about what a liberal is, I said. Also, a liberal sits back in them nice, air-cooled, streamlined coaches on the trains down south while I ride up front in a hot old Jim Crow car, said Simple. Am I right? Well, you are just about right, I said. All the liberals I ever heard of ride with white folks when they go down south, not with us. Yet they deplore Jim Crow. Do liberals have an animal? As Simple? What do you mean, do liberals have an animal? Well, Republicans have an elephant. Democrats have a jackass, says simple. I mean, what does a liberal have? I don't know, I said, since they are not a political party, but if they were, what animal do you think they ought to have? An ostrich, says simple. Why an ostrich, I demanded. Ain't you never seen an ostrich, says simple? Old ostrich sticks his head in the sand whenever he don't want to look at anything, but he leaves his hind parts bare for anybody to kick him square in the caboose. An ostrich is just like nice white folks who can smile at me so sweet as long as I am working and sweating and don't ask for nothing. Soon as I want a promotion or a pay raise, down go their heads in the sand, and they can't see they were clear. Now, the time ain't ripe. And if I insist, they will have the boss man put me dead out on the street so they can't see me. Is that what a liberal is? It could be, I said, except that an ostrich is a bird that does not sing, and a liberal can sing very sweetly. An elephant don't talk, said simple. But they always making them talk in them cartoons where he represents the Republicans. So I don't see why an ostrich can't sing. No, I didn't mean sing literally. I said what I really meant was talk, use platitudes, make speeches. This ostrich of mine can make some speeches, says simple. He can pull his head up out of the sand and say, I see a new day ahead in America. I see the democratic dawn of equal rights for all. I see, whereupon I say, can you see me? And that ostrich would say, indeed, my dark friend, democracy cannot overlook you. And I will say, then help me get an apartment in that city-built tax-free insurance project where nobody lives but white folks. That ostrich will say, excuse me, and stick his head right back down in the sand. And then I will haul off and try to kick his daylights out. And Mr. Big Dog will say, shame on you, trying to embarrass a friend of the Negro race. And I would say, embarrass nothing, I'm trying to break his carcass. Only thing is, it's too high up for my foot to reach. That's another trouble with liberals, says simple. They always too high up to reach. Well, they're well-to-do, man. That's why liberals don't have to worry about colored folks. Well, then, give me an animal whose hips is closer to the ground, says simple. Liberals need a mascot. Aunt Sue's stories. Aunt Sue has a whole head full of stories. Aunt Sue has a whole heart full of stories. Summer nights on the front porch, Aunt Sue cuddles a brown-faced child to her bosom and tells him stories. Black slaves working in the hot sun, and black slaves walking in the dewy night, and black slaves singing sorrow songs on the banks of a mighty river mingle themselves softly in the flow of old Aunt Sue's voice, mingle themselves softly in the dark shadows that cross and recross Aunt Sue's stories. And the dark-faced child listening knows that Aunt Sue's stories are real stories. He knows that Aunt Sue never got her stories out of any book at all, but they came right out of her own life. The dark-faced child is quiet of a summer night listening to Aunt Sue's stories. As I grew older, it was a long time ago. I've almost forgotten my dream. But it was there then in front of me, bright like a sun, my dream. And then the wall rose slowly, slowly between me and my dream, rose slowly, slowly dimming, hiding the light of my dream, rose until it touched the sky, the wall, shadow, I am black. I lie down in the shadow, no longer the light of my dream before me. Above me, only the thick wall, only the shadow. My hands, my dark hands break through the wall, find my dream, help me to shatter this darkness, to smash this night, to break this shadow into 1,000 lights of sun, into 1,000 whirling dreams of sun. Trumpet player, 1944. The Negro with the trumpet at his lips has dark moons of weariness beneath his eyes, where the smothering memory of slave ships blaze to the crack of whips about his thighs. The Negro with the trumpet at his lips has a head of vibrant hair, tamed down patent leather now, till it gleams like jet, with jet a crown. The music from the trumpet at his lips is honey mixed with liquid fire. The rhythm from the trumpet at his lips is ecstasy distilled in old desire. Desire that is longing for the moon, where the moonlight's but a spotlight in his eyes. Desire that is longing for the sea, where the sea's a bar glass sucker size. The Negro with the trumpet at his lips, whose jacket has a fine one-button roll, does not know upon what riff the music slips his hypodermic needle to his soul, but softly, as the tune comes from his throat, trouble mellows to a golden note. Freedom Train, 1947. This poem was written in response to a plan by the American Heritage Fund to send the Declaration of Independence around the country on a special train, Freedom Train. I read in a paper about the Freedom Train. I heard on the radio about the Freedom Train. I seen folks talking about the Freedom Train. Lord, I've been waiting for the Freedom Train. Down south in Dixie, only train I see's got a Jim Crow car set aside for me. I hope there ain't no Jim Crow on the Freedom Train, no back door entrance on the Freedom Train, no sign for colors on the Freedom Train, no white folks only on the Freedom Train. I gotta check up on this Freedom Train. Who's the engineer on the Freedom Train? Can a cold black man drive the Freedom Train? Or am I still a porter on the Freedom Train? Is there ballot boxes on the Freedom Train? When it stops in Mississippi, will it be made plain everybody's got a right to board the Freedom Train? And somebody tell me about this Freedom Train. The Birmingham station marked colored and white. The white folks go left, the colored go right. They even got a segregated lane. Is that the way to get aboard the Freedom Train? I gotta know about this Freedom Train. Now, if my children ask me, Daddy, please explain why there's Jim Crow stations for the Freedom Train, what should I tell my children? I mean, you tell me, because freedom ain't freedom when a man ain't free. But maybe they explain it on the Freedom Train. When my grandmother in Atlanta, 83 in black, gets in line to see the freedom, will some white man yell, "Get back"? A Negro got no business on the Freedom Train? Mister, I thought it was the Freedom Train. Her grandson's name is Jimmy. He died in Anzio. He died for real. It wasn't no show. The freedom they was carrying on this Freedom Train, is it for real or just for show again? Now, Jimmy wants to know about the Freedom Train. Will his Freedom Train come zooming down the track, gleaming in the sunlight for white and black? Not stopping at no stations marked colored or no white, just stopping in the fields in broad daylight, stopping in the country in the wide open air where there never was no Jim Crow signs nowhere, no welcoming committees, nor politicians of note, nor mayors of such for which colored can't vote, and nary a sign of a colored line, for the freedom train will be yours and mine. Then maybe from their graves in Anzio, the GIs who fought will say, we wanted it so. Black men and white men will say, ain't it fine? At home they got a train that's yours and mine. Then I'll shout glory for the freedom train. I'll holler, blow your whistle, freedom train. Thank God Almighty, here's the freedom train. Get on board the freedom train. Everybody knows the story about Langston, how legendary it is in terms of his love for Harlem. He came to Harlem in 1921 to go to Columbia University and lived in Harlem from 1921 until his death in 1967. So the sounds, the smells, loved and wrote was so rich about this Mecca, this place of dreams, dreams deferred, dreams of passion, of sorrow, of love. To be somebody. Little girl dreaming of a baby grand, not knowing there's a Steinway bigger, bigger. Dreaming of a baby grand to play that stretches paddle tail across the floor, not standing upright like some bad boy in a corner, but sending music up the stairs and down the stairs and out the door to confound even Hazel Scott, who might be passing. Oh, little boy dreaming of the boxing gloves Joe Louis wore, the gloves that sent 24 men to the floor. Knockout, bam, bop, mop. There's always room, they say, at the top. Hope for Harlem. This is written, Hope for Harlem was written around 1952. And with the end of World War II, there's just an enormous expansionism that happened in this country, and an optimism that happened in this country for black people. It saved up a great deal of money. As I mentioned before earlier, my parents had gone to the post office so they can aspire to be middle class. So this idea that there was some new presence and new opportunity was alive in 1952. Hope for Harlem. There's a new skyline in Harlem. It's tall and proud and fine. At night, its walls are gleaming where 1,000 windows shine. There's a new skyline in Harlem that belongs to you and me as the dark old ugly houses tumble into memory. Memory of those dingy stairs, memory of my helpless prayers, memory of the landlord's stares when you ask him for a few repairs. Now there's a new skyline in Harlem. It's rising tall and free, and if it keeps on rising, there'll be a brand new me. Don't you know it makes a difference when you got a clean new house? I used to hear those old rats gnawing. Now I don't even hear a mouse. I used to climb those old steps of dark old creepy stairs, and sometimes I said a cuss word before I said my prayers. But there's a new skyline in Harlem, and I'm thankful when I pray that the yard is bigger than the park and the kids have a chance to play. That the walls are painted pretty and the bathroom has a shower for folks who never thought they'd live in a house that's got a tower. A stone to throw or a stone to build with. A brick for a brick rat or a brick for a waltz. Stones are better for building. Bricks are better for a wall. So that's why I'm mighty happy when I see those old walls fall, when I see dead trees uprooted for new trees to grow tall. And I'm mighty glad, I'm lucky my name stayed on the list to get a new apartment where I live, not just exist. But I can't forget my brothers, nor my sisters down the street in those broken down old houses where both ends never meet. Houses where the steps are creaking, where rats gnaw at the floors, and a dozen names are sticking in the doorbells at the doors. Where clean clothes hang like banners from dingy wall to wall, clothes that are really banners waving for us all. Waving to the glory of those who climb the stairs to wash the clothes of trying in the soapsuds of their prayers. But the old skyline is sagging. It looks sadder than before. So I hope the day is coming when there won't be any more houses where the steps are creaking and rats gnaw at the floors and a dozen names are sticking in each doorbell at the doors. For there's a new skyline in Harlem. It's rising here and there. We're waiting for that skyline to start rising everywhere. A new skyline in Harlem, the answer to a prayer. Harlem Night Song. Come, let us roam the night together, singing, I love you. Across the Harlem rooftops, moon is shining, night sky is blue, stars are great drops of golden dew. Down the street, a band is playing, I love you. Come, let us roam the night together, singing. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore, then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? I too sing America. I am the darker brother they send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody will dare say to me, eat in the kitchen then. Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am American. Dreams variation. To fling my arms wide in some place of the sun, to whirl and to dance, the white day is done. Then rest at cool evening beneath a tall tree while night comes on gently, dark like me. That is my dream. To fling my arms wide in the face of the sun, dance, whirl, whirl, till the quick day is done. Rest at pale evening, a tall, slim tree. Night comes tenderly, black like me. The Bitter River. This poem was written in 1942 in memory of two 14-year-old boys who were lynched in Mississippi. Certainly part of the irony of that is that the United States was in the first year of a war to end fascism. And these two young 14-year-old boys were lynched. The Bitter River. There's a bitter river flowing through the South. Too long has the taste of its water been in my mouth. There's a bitter river, dark with filth and mud. Too long has its poisoned my blood. I've drunk of the bitter river, and its gall coats the red of my tongue, mixed with the blood of the lynch boys from its iron bridge hung, mixed with the hopes that are drowned there in the snake-like hiss of its stream, where I drank of the bitter river that strangled my dream. The book studied, but useless, tool-handled, but unused, knowledge acquired but thrown away, ambition battered and bruised. Oh, water the bitter river with your taste of blood and clay. You reflect no stars by night, no sun by day. The bitter river reflects no stars. It gives back only the glint of steel bars and dark, bitter faces behind steel bars. The Scottsboro Boys, behind steel bars. Lewis Jones, behind steel bars. The voteless sharecropper, behind steel bars. The labor leader, behind steel bars. The soldier thrown from a Jim Crow bus, behind steel bars. The 15-cent mugger, behind steel bars. The girl who sells her body, behind steel bars. In my grandfather's back with this ladder of scars. Long ago, the whip and the steel bars, the bitter river reflects no stars. Wait, be patient, you say, your folks will have a better day. But the swirl of the bitter river takes your words away. Work, education, patience will bring a better day. The swirl of the bitter river carries your patience away. Disruptor, agitator, troublemaker, you say. This swirl of the bitter river sweeps your lies away. I did not ask for this river, nor the taste of its bitter brew. I was given its water as a gift from you. Yours has been the power to force my back to the wall and make me drink of the bitter cup mixed with blood and gall. You have lynched my comrades where the iron bridge crosses the stream, underpaid me for my labor, and spit in the face of my dream. You forced me to the bitter river with the hiss of his snake-like song. Now your words no longer have meaning. I have drunk at the river too long. Dreamer of dreams to be broken, builder of hopes to be smashed, loser from an empty pocket of my meager cash. Be the bearer of burdens and sing a weary song. I've drunk at the bitter river with its filth and its mud too long. Tired now of the bitter river, tired now of the pat on the back, tired now of the steel bars because my face is black. I'm tired of segregation, tired of filth and mud. I've drunk of the bitter river and it's turned to steel in my blood. Oh, tragic bitter river, where the lynch boys hung, the gall of your bitter water coats my tongue. The blood of your bitter water for me gives back no stars. I'm tired of the bitter river, tired of the bars. Birmingham Sunday, September 15th, 1963. 4 little girls who went to Sunday school that day and never came back home at all, but left instead their blood upon the wall with splashed flesh and bloody Sunday dresses, torn to shreds by dynamite that China made eons ago, did not know that what China made before China was ever red at all would redden with their blood this Birmingham on Sunday wall. 4 tiny girls who left their blood upon the wall in little graves today await the dynamite that might ignite the fuse of centuries of dragon kings whose tomorrows sing a hymn the missionaries never taught Chinese in Christian Sunday school to implement the golden rule. 4 little girls might be awakened someday soon by songs upon the breeze as yet unfelt among magnolia trees, by songs upon the breeze as yet unfelt among magnolia trees. Lumumba's grave. Lumumba was black and he didn't trust the whores all powdered with uranium dust. Lumumba was black and he didn't believe the lives thieves shook with their freedom sieve. Lumumba was black, his blood was red, and for being a man, they killed him dead. They buried Lumumba in an unmarked grave, but he needs no marker. For air is his grave, sun is his grave, moon is, stars are, space is his grave. My heart's his grave, and it's marked there. Tomorrow will mark it everywhere. Notes on commercial theater. You've taken my blues and gone. You singing them on Broadway, and you singing them in Hollywood Bowl, and you mix them up with symphonies, and you fix them so they don't sound like me. Yep, you done taken my blues and gone. You also took my spirituals and gone. You put me in Macbeth and Carmen Jones and all kinds of swing Mikados and everything but what's about me. But someday somebody will stand up and talk about me and write about me, black and beautiful, and sing about me and put on plays about me. And I reckon it'll be me myself. Yes, it'll be me. Afro-American fragments. So long, so far away is Africa. Not even memories alive, save those that history books create. Save those that songs beat back into the blood. Beat out of the blood with words sad sung in strange un-Negro tongue. So long, so far away is Africa. Subdued in time lost are the drums, and yet through some vast mist of race there comes this song I do not understand. This song of atavistic land, of bitter yearnings lost without a place. So long, so far away is Africa's dark face. Sylvester's dying bed. I woke up this morning about 3:30, and all the women in town was gathered around me. Sweet gals was moaning, Sylvester gonna die. And 100 pretty mamas bowed their heads to cry. I woke up a little late, about 4:30. The doctor and the undertaker both at my door. Black gals was a-begging, you can't leave us here. Brown skins crying, Daddy, honey, baby, don't go, dear. But I felt my times are coming, and I knows I'm dying fast. I seen the River Jordan, the creepy, muddy paths, but I still sweet Papa Vesta. Yes, sir, long as life do last. So I hollers, come here, babies, for the love your daddy right. And I reaches up to hug him when the Lord put out the lights. Then everything was darkness in a great, big night. When the New Deal, some of you may be too young to know what the New Deal is. I wasn't born during the New Deal either, but I read a little bit about the New Deal. The Roosevelt administration came up with the New Deal, just to bring the country out of the worst depression in modern times, and this terrible world depression. But not all people who were progressive and people who really want were hungry for change believed that this was a new deal, and some referred to it as the raw deal. So Langston wrote this poem expressing his feelings about the New Deal. Ballad of Roosevelt. The pot was empty, the cupboard was bare. I said, Papa, what's the matter here? I'm waiting on Roosevelt, son. The rent was due and the lights was out. I said, tell me, Mama, what's it all about? We're waiting on Roosevelt, son. Roosevelt, just waiting on Roosevelt. Sister got sick and the doctor wouldn't come because we couldn't pay him the proper sum. Waiting on Roosevelt, waiting on Roosevelt. Then one day they put us out the house and Ma and Pa was meek as a mouse, still waiting on Roosevelt. But when they felt those cold winds blow and didn't have no place to go, Pa said, I'm tired of waiting on Roosevelt, damn tired of waiting on Roosevelt. I can't get a job and I can't get no grub, backbone and navel doing the belly rubber, waiting on Roosevelt. And a lot of other folks was hungry and cold and stopped believing in Roosevelt, and then stopped believing what they've been told. Because the pot's still empty and the cover's still bare and you can't build a bungalow out of air. Mr. Roosevelt, listen! What's the matter here? Kids who die. This is for kids who die, black and white. For kids will die certainly. The old and rich will live on a while, as always, eating blood and gold, letting kids die. Kids will die in the swamps of Mississippi, organizing sharecroppers. Kids would die in the streets of Chicago, organizing workers. Kids would die in the orange groves of California, telling others to get together. White and Filipino, Negro and Mexican, all kinds of kids will die who don't believe in lies and bribes and contentment and a lousy peace. Of course, the wise and the learned who pen editorials in the papers, and the gentlemen with doctor in front of their names, white and black, who make surveys and write books, will live on weaving words to smother the kids who die. And the sleazy courts and the bribe-reaching police and the blood-loving generals and the money-loving preachers will all raise their hands against the kids who die, beating them with laws and clubs, bayonets and bullets to frighten the people. For the kids who die are like iron in the blood of the people, and the old and rich don't want the people to taste the iron of the kids who die, don't want the people to get wise to their own power, to believe in Angelo Herndon, or ever get together. Listen, kids who die. Maybe now there will be no monument for you except in our hearts. Maybe your bodies will be lost in a swamp or a prison grave or the potter's field or the rivers where you'll drown like Liebknecht. But the day will come, you assure yourselves that it is coming, when the marching feet of the masses will raise for you a living monument of love and joy and laughter, and black hands and white hands clasped as one, and a song that reached the sky, the song of a new life triumphant through the kids who die. Ballad of the man who's gone. No money to bury him. The relief gave 44, and the undertaker told him, you need 60 more. For a first-class funeral, a hearse and 2 cars, and maybe your friends send some flowers. His wife took a paper and went around. Everybody gave something. She put him down. She raked up 100 for her man that was dead. His buddies brought flowers, and the funeral was had. A minister preached and charged 5 to bless him dead and praise him alive. Now that he's buried, God rest his soul. Reckon there's no charge for graveyard mold. I wonder what makes a funeral so high. A poor man ain't got no business to die. Morning after. I was so sick last night. I didn't hardly know my mind. So sick last night, I didn't hardly know my mind. Whew, I drank some bad liquor. It almost made me blind. I had a dream last night. I thought I was in hell. I dreamt last night. I thought I was in hell. Woke up and looked around. Me, babe, your mouth was open like a well. I said, baby, please don't snore so loud. Baby, please don't snore so loud. You're just a little bitty old woman, but you sound like a big, great crowd. Yeah. Ruby Brown. She was young and beautiful and golden like the sunshine that warmed her body. And because she was colored, Mayville had no place to offer her. No fuel for the clean flame of joy that tried to burn within her soul. One day, sitting on old Miss Latham's back porch, polishing the silver, she asked herself 2 questions. And they ran something like this. Now, what can a colored girl do on the money from a white woman's kitchen? And ain't there any joy in this town? Now, the streets down by the river know more about this pretty Ruby Brown, and the sinister shuttered houses of the bottom hold a yellow girl seeking an answer to her questions. The good church folk do not mention her name anymore. But the white men, habituates of the high shuttered houses, pay more money to her now than they ever did before when she worked in their kitchens. Who but the Lord? I looked up and saw the law. That man they called the law, he was coming down the street at me. I had visions in my head of being laid out cold and dead, or else murdered by the 3rd degree. I said, oh Lord, if you can't save me from that man, don't let him make a pulp out of me. But the Lord, he was not quick. The law raised up his stick and beat the living hell out of me. Now, I do not understand why God don't protect a man from police brutality. Being poor and black, I have no weapons to strike back. So who but the Lord can protect me? Laughers. Dream singers, storytellers, dancers, loud laughers in the hands of fate. My people. Dishwashers, elevators boys, ladies' maids, crap shooters, cooks, waiters, jazzers, nurses of babies, loaders of ships, rounders, numbers writers, comedians in vaudeville, and bandmen in circuses, dream singers, all my people, storytellers, all my people, dancers. God, what dancers? Singers, God, what singers, singers and dancers, dancers and laughers, laughers? Yes, laughers, laughers, loudmouth laughers in the hands of fate. Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plain seeking a home where he himself is free. America never was America to me. Let America be the dream, the dreamer's dream. Let it be that great, strong land of love where neither kings connive nor tyrants scheme, that any man be crushed by one above. It never was America to me. Oh, let my land be a land where liberty is crowned with no false patriotic wreath, but opportunity is real and life is free. Equality is in the air we breathe. There's never been equality for me, nor freedom in this homeland of the free. Say, who are you that mumbles in the dark? And who are you that draws your veil across the stars? I am the poor white, fooled and pushed apart. I am the Negro bearing slavery scars. I am the red man driven from the land. I am the immigrant clutching the hope I seek and finding only the same old stupid plan of dog eat dog, of mighty crush the weak. I am the young man full of strength and hope, tangled in that ancient endless chain of profit, power, gain, of grab the land, of grab the gold, of grab the way of satisfying need, of work the man, of take the pay, of owning everything for one's own greed. I am the farmer, bondsman to the soil. I am the worker sold to the machine. I am the Negro, servant to you all. I am the people, humble, hungry, mean. Hungry yet today despite the dream, beaten yet today. Oh, pioneers, I am the man who never got ahead, the poorest worker bartered through the years, yet I'm the one who dreamt our basic dream. In that old world while still a serf of kings, who dreamt the dream so strong, so brave, so true, that even yet its mighty daring sing in every brick and stone, in every furrowed turn that's made America the land it has become. Oh, I'm the man who sailed those early seas in search of what I meant to be my home. For I'm the one who left Dark Island's shore and Poland's plain and England's grassy lee, and torn from Black Africa's strand, I came to build a homeland of the free. The free? Who says the free? Not me. Surely not me, the millions on relief today, the millions who have nothing for our pay, for all the dreams we dreamed, for all the songs we sung, for all the hopes we held, for all the flags we hung, the millions who have nothing for our pay except the dream that's almost dead today. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has yet and yet must be, the land where every man is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, the Indian's, Negro, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain must bring back our mighty dream again. Sure, call me any ugly names you choose. The steel of freedom does not stain from those who live like leeches on the people's lives. We must bring back our land again. America. Oh yes, I say it plain. America was never America to me, and yet I swear this oath, America will be. Out of the rank and ruin of our gangster death, the rape and rot of graft and stealth and lies, we the people must redeem the land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America again. I dream a world. I dream a world where man no other man will scorn, where love will bless the earth and peace its paths adorn. I dream a world where all will know sweet freedom's way, where greed no longer saps the soul, nor avarice blights our day. A world I dream where black or white, whatever race you be, will share the bounties of the earth, and every man is free. Where wretchedness will hang his head, and joy, like a pearl, attends the needs of all mankind. Of such I dream my world. Of such I dream our world. Thank you.